And you're welcome to my banner this Monday morning here on the AM show. Well, thousands of students complete school each year in Ghana and have no jobs. We've heard about an association for graduates who are not working, for instance. Well, one man is advocating that we create wealth instead of, we keep talking about and I don't have job and there are no jobs and nobody is hiring me. Why don't we start creating something for ourselves? And the moment we talk about creating things for ourselves, we talk capital. We've heard about how some people say, oh, it's not everything that you need capital, for instance. But let's discuss the issues in detail. We'll also touch a little bit because of where my guest is coming from on that policy meeting by the Bank of Ghana. Just briefly on that. And Christmas is just around the corner. So I also want to talk, is it too late to save for Christmas with him? My guest this morning is Mr. David Kofi Waakye. He's chairman of Wealth Vision Financial Services Limited and has also worked with the Bank of Ghana before. Good morning to you. It's good to have you again.
Thank you.
Yeah. I tried the tips that you gave about savings. And I'm happy to say that I'm doing, little by little. Once that, when it's deducted, I don't even feel it. And my intention is to forget about it. Maybe someday it will be big money for me. So thank you for the tips.
That's good to note that at least you've kept these tips and you started working with it. And I believe once you are consistent with it, it will grow up to become a wealthy tree.
Yeah. I think the secret is to get involved in something that you yourself, you're not paying direct, but it's deducted from source.
Sure.
That way you don't feel it.
Yes, really that helps you to not have a direct control over whether to do it or not to do it. So if you are able to make that decision, I think it's a good starting point. Yes. Anything that controls your ability to halt your savings, if you can make any decision to curtail that, I think it's in a good direction. Yes.
All right. Okay, so today you were talking about the fact that we should stop talking about reducing poverty and start the conversation on wealth creation. We do that, except that you think we should stop completely one and concentrate on the other.
Yes, for me, it depends on what you mean by poverty reduction. Poverty reduction, fine, it is an attempt of creating wealth or coming out of poverty. So if you are coming out, what consistent measurement or analysis are you making this year? I talk about reducing poverty by what percent. Have I achieved that? Next year, what will I be doing about that? If consistently you are marking that and you are measuring that you are really reducing, then on the other flip side, it means you are helping to create wealth. But if it's just a matter of saying something to go away with it, I will have a little problem with that. Wealth creation, as we always say, must be seen. It must be visible. Eventually, it should come out clearly for somebody to see that you have moved from point A to B as far as poverty reduction is concerned. But if you just for the talk of it, then I'm afraid. So moving immediately on that to the effort of wealth creation, as we always say, the beginning point is the individual personal decision. Talking about individual, in this case, could be you, could be me, it could be the firm or the industry, it could also be national. So any of these identifiable group or personalities must come to a point of making decision that yes, there has been a gap in development, there has been a gap in creating enabling environment for me or the company or the nation to build on it. Because at least globally we see how far people are going. We see how far individuals are doing. We see how far businesses are doing. If at the level at which I am, I realize it does not even enables me to meet immediate needs, then I don't know where comes the wealth creation or the wealth that we so created.
Can anybody and everybody create wealth?
Yes, everybody has the ability to create wealth.
Doesn't it depend on where you are in society, the level?
That is where the question is. Wherever you are, there's nothing stopping you from moving out of that point. Taking it from a human perspective, I want to believe that God, at least I'm a Christian and I believe in that, God created all of us and give us all the abilities, the potentials to become great. I always believe, and I said that if we want to take a statistics of this world, especially even Ghana, take Ghana, take the number, take the population of Ghana, take the wealth of this country, just on a very conservative level, take the wealth, divide it into everybody. We talk about per capita income, but I am talking about the wealth. Per capita income is what we are able to produce or whatever. But if you see what God has given to us.
What the country naturally came with.
Exactly, came with. If you can divide that and share it for every individual, can you imagine how much wealth every individual will get? But the question you ask yourself is, if you can think about that and we can see that every individual is worthy by this calculation, why in reality we count ourselves as if we are that poor, as if we cannot do, as others are doing?
How do you create wealth when you are involved in the piece of work? You are paid a certain amount of money at the end of every month, and that's all you've got.
That is where it starts from the mind. The question is, who said you must just be there and what you are paid is what you deserve for the rest of your life? Who said that? Nobody said that. It's an option. You choose, you send your application to a particular company and you were employed. They told you this is the salary we can pay you. But don't forget, even though you work for 12 hours, you have 24 hours in a day. If you choose to be with that company for the rest of your life, that is the limit of wealth can be shared with you. But beyond that, there are so many things you can do. Others are in the similar job with you, but they are making a bit more wealth, becoming more wealthier than you. So you ask yourself, what am I not doing? Or what am I doing wrongly? That makes somebody better off than me. Then begin to put an action in place to change the status quo. Whatever you are paid, salary, it is not the end of life. It is what you are able to do with what you have in you. It is what you are able to do with the capacity, abilities that God has given to you.
You know, there are some persons who are really, really talented, and yet the fear of what if it doesn't work? If I decide to leave this job and go and pursue this on my own, what if it doesn't work? At least with this one, I'm assured of a certain amount of money, even though it is little. At the end of every month, I am sure for sure that this is what I will get. But
yes.
I don't know what I will get if I go on my own.
Okay, in business, that's what we call risk. The decision to do something extra or not to do, that is the level of risk individuals can take. Risk taking is something that begins from your life the day you were born. A kind of training you've gone through could make you averse to taking some risk. A kind of intuition you have, a kind of training you have, or the way you develop your human ability helps you to make some decision. Or you could also see others making it, you attempt to do it. It is very good to...
Is that a good thing?
Which
That's
one?
more like copying. You see others do it, and then you also want to do it.
No, we all learn. I believe you are not the first person to host a program like this. You saw others doing, and you were interested in it, so you learn how to do it, and you are doing it today. It is not just copying. You could learn from somebody, I don't want to use the word copy, and improve and do it better than somebody is doing. Yes, because you don't reinvest the wheel when it's already invented.
So should somebody's success, should it ginger you to want to do more?
Yes, somebody's success story can ginger you, can motivate you, for want of word, can motivate you to do better or to do, yes.
Okay. So I also had a question about the fact that December is just days away now. Is it too late to save for Christmas? Should we even be saving for Christmas?
Yeah, you can save for Christmas. It is good to save for Christmas than to borrow for Christmas. If you save, you designate this amount. For example, like you are saying, your salary is 10 cedis, and you decide that I want to set 2 cedis aside, and this money is what I will use for Christmas, and you can religiously monitor that and use that for Christmas. Is very good than to wait until last minute. You go around borrowing for Christmas.
Do people borrow for Christmas?
Yes, I think everybody. I mean, most people may do that, but I wouldn't do that. I wouldn't go and borrow money to spend on Christmas. Not that the occasion is not good, but the act, the importance of it needs to be well managed.
Okay.
Yes, but by the way, if you are saying borrowing for Christmas, what do you actually mean?
I mean, you want to buy a bigger bag of rice, which you ideally would not do.
Yeah.
But just because of the occasion, you want to get some minerals, crates of drinks.
Yes. So I will tell you to save towards that. Plan and save towards that. Don't just walk into Christmas, then you go and break your investment that you earmark for maybe increasing your capital. You earmark towards improving your life in terms of building a capital asset for yourself or building a huge investment which will in future get you into wealth creation that maybe we'll be getting into soon. You don't break such investments for occasions like, I mean, a social event that just passed by. Otherwise, you will regret you do that. Because Christmas, once you spend the money, it's not coming back. But when you keep it in investment, it grows up and helps you to metamorphose from whichever level you are to a higher level of wealth creation.
Okay. So did I hear you say that you can create wealth in the future for yourself?
Not in the future. Yes, you can create the wealth creation. I always say that it's a process. It is not an action you take one day and it's over. No, it's a process. If you and we are talking about wealth creation now, we are not just talking about making a deposit into an account over a period of 5 years. Whatever I get, then I assume I have created wealth. No. Wealth creation should be a continuous process that must affect generations. If you think about having one house, one car, or even 10 cars. In fact, I always say that it's difficult for me to say that I've seen somebody in Ghana, at least for this matter, who created wealth. How many generations can your wealth affect? That is when we are talking about wealth creation. If your so-called riches or amount of wealth you have today ends at your generation, or you just only transfer it to your children, I'm afraid it is not sustainable.
So how do you sustain it then?
Yes. The sustaining of the wealth, me and you, let's identify the situation in which we are now. I will count myself as very poor, so to say, if I am measuring myself in the concept of wealth creation. So having identified myself that I have not even gotten to anywhere, then in attempt to do that, I should assume that I am laying a foundation for the future. So whatever I am doing now is to create a sustainable environment on which my children, my family members, the nation, or the small community that I control can build on, in order that my wealth affect the whole society. If your wealth cannot affect society, you are not getting closer to wealth.
This is a lot of work.
Yes, it is a lot of work as far as you and I, we are concerned. And we happen to be in this continent called Africa, and Ghana for this matter. It is a lot of work because we have not conceived the idea that the mess or the situation in which we are, as a matter of fact, has been created by somebody, because nothing just happened. We don't just exist in Ghana from today. Somebody else, somewhere, sometime, maybe might have not done something right. That is why we are in this mess. So the question we ask ourselves is, do we want to continue like that? We must start doing something differently to be able to start matching with other people in this world. Like I am saying, quickly to add, is that it starts from the mind. It starts from the individual. It starts from the organization. And it starts nationally. When you go to other parts of this world, they were sometimes like us. If you go to Malaysia, you go to Dubai, at a point, they were all having the traffic problems that we have. They were all having problem with healthcare and other things. But at a point in time, somebody decided, no, we need to change this situation and start working at it.
You know, we've been talking a lot about the fact that we have leadership problems. But I think from what you're saying, if we're all to practice it, thinking about how we can affect other people's lives down the line, you know, like thinking in terms of generations instead of just ourselves. I'm just thinking how better the society would become if we're all thinking that way.
Sure.
How can we change? And this is deep.
It is very
So I'm
deep.
thinking that perhaps we're where we are today, and we will be here for a very long time if we don't begin to do what you are saying. Thinking about how I can create wealth for the future, but not for now. But how can we even begin to change our kind of thinking? Because we become so selfish, so self-centered.
Sure.
We're just thinking about, is it just me, 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 me? And if my family members are fortunate, then it will be me and my family.
Yes, I cannot agree with you more that the biggest problem we have in Africa is the personality thinking, that the parochial interest we have about issues of wealth creation. Until we come out of that and start thinking about the society, the community, and the nation as a whole, in fact, looking beyond the nation, thinking about the continent, we have a very limited distance to cover as far as wealth creation is concerned. Like you are saying, most of us just think about, if I'm able to pay my children's school fees, if I have my means of transport, and I have one house, I should be okay. Those who have done a bit worse is thinking about having 3 or 4, 5 houses and thinking they have wealth.
They will just share it for their children.
Their children, and unfortunately, these children, so to say, because they were also not taught to build on that, some of them will just mess up by even bringing the whole system down. So it needs a change of mind. As a society, as people, we need to start thinking, how can we change our nation? How can we change our continent from the mess in which we find ourselves? Because to run here this morning, I cannot imagine what my driver took me through to get here. But the question is, what are we doing about it? We may talk about governments, successive governments, but as individuals.
Yeah, but some critics will also say, for the things that you're saying, how can I make things better for the society? If governments and leaders will begin to think that way, then that will also do us a lot of good.
It's good to yes, simply say it as you are saying, but I believe that leadership begins from the smallest unit of the bigger society. If leadership does not take a dimension of looking at the future from the family level, the way we talk about our leaders, if our children hears it, if we are in a nation and we see our leader in a certain context, and that is what we talk about, everybody, the young ones, hear about it. What respect would they give to that leadership? to be able to drive us. As the smaller unit, as the home, I believe fathers, mothers, elder sisters or whatever, we need to start talking about how we can develop something I call servant leadership. Servant leadership sees himself as an action person, somebody to drive, somebody to help change whatever situation in which we are, be willing to make an improved state. If we can start impacting this kind of leadership into our children, into ourselves, these same young ones grow up to become national leaders and they take it up from there. But when you and I sit here and think we can just say something today and our president will change, our minister will change, our pastors will change, or our corporate CEOs will change, I'm afraid it is very difficult to bend an already grown branch of a tree than to start bending it from that whilst it was very young. So fine, we may not get the needed answer as we speak here, but we need to start from somewhere. If we can start talking to our children at the primary school, at the lower levels of education, teach them what leadership is, what you are expected to become, what role model you can give to society when you become a leader, we can start seeing some result.
This is interesting, because often you hear conversations on, oh, go into economics or go into law. These days, that's where you make very quick money, and then you also become somebody in society. We're not talking things that would impact positively on the lives of the children, but we're thinking about how they too can become somebody quickly in the society. I also want us to focus our attention on the fact that there's some meeting at the Bank of Ghana. There's talks of a possible increase in policy rates. But I want you, because you are obviously a technical person, to explain this whole rate stuff to us. What's the policy rate about?
Yeah, the policy rate, fine. I know this is a technical decision made by the central bank, by a committee called Monetary Policy Committee. I wouldn't, since I know this week they're going to have a meeting on that, and from my background, it will not be advisable talking about such very technical issue.
I just wanted the explanation of the, and because obviously a lot of viewers would have heard by now that commercial banks may increase their lending rates. So I just wanted what the policy rate is all about. What does it mean?
Yeah, like you are saying, I just want to be very conservative in my explanation here. Talking about the policy rate is a decision-making rate that is given by the central bank, mainly to the commercial banks for various decisions, which may affect interest rates going up or down. At the moment, I don't think there's any speculation that it's going to go high or come down. So we must be careful the kind of information we put out there. It is today that the meeting will start. Until the meeting is over,
we may not know the direction that is
even the governor may not know until the meeting is over. So
I think the last time that we had a conversation here on the AM show about savings, we also talked about borrowing, taking loans to do things.
Sure.
Would you still say that it's not a good time around this time to borrow? Maybe and if I say borrow, personal borrowing.
Personal borrowing. For what? That's the first question I will ask. I always say that taking a loan is not evil or it's not a bad thing. It depends on what you use the loan for. If you take a loan and you just blow it on maybe a social event which does not bring an income that will be able to pay off the loan plus the interest on it, and you also make a profit, then I have a problem. Because
should the loan that you're taking always bring a certain income?
Sure.
After all, you earn some money at the end of the month,
Sure.
so you use it to offset kakaka.
Yes, that is what you consider. The loan I have taken, what did I use it for? For example, if I'm building a house and I am due, maybe currently I live in a rented place, I am due to pay another, what we call advance.
Yes. Maybe a 2 years advance.
Yes, in 3 months' time. But I have tried to build my house to a level which I could take a possible loan that will help me complete. So I move into that and eventually pay from my income. It's a good and a wise decision. You understand? It's a kind of conserving your spending. Instead of paying for that advance, you now go and borrow a bit more than maybe what you pay. You put it to complete your house, and from your salary or whatever income you are expecting, you pay in bits. It is a wise decision. You understand? Or you are a business person, you go and borrow money coming Christmas, like you are saying. You need to increase your stock. You need to improve on your capital so that you can acquire more stock and sell in Christmas and make more money or more profit. It's a good decision. Yes, but somebody who will just go and borrow. Once you want to borrow money and you don't have a purpose of it, please don't borrow it. Don't borrow if you don't have a very good purpose that will bring more revenue than what, or
You're
more
borrowing.
comfort than what you are borrowing. Don't go in for it.
Should you
You
borrow
may end up not paying
to
it.
rent?
Say again.
Should you borrow to pay your rent advance, for instance?
Yes, you can, because it's a need for you to be sheltered. So you can borrow to pay your rent advance, but you must also make sure that you have a provision of paying off that loan. I will not encourage anybody who will borrow and will not pay. We have a lot of them in the society today, because I'm in a business of such.
Why do people borrow and not pay? I don't get it. I mean, sometimes it may not be what you're planning, but at least you are earning something at the end of every month.
Anyway, you are talking from your understanding. I mean, your level. Maybe you are a salary worker, so you're borrowing.
Okay, not everybody earns
Salary,
something
yes.
at the end of every month.
Yes.
Okay.
Such people, you should be careful when you must borrow. But if we are talking in this platform, I am looking at even business borrowing. Why do businesses go for credit? You understand? Why do businesses go for credit? Because that one, it's even more, in size than an individual borrowing. An individual borrowing might be on a smaller note. Businesses acquire capital in two main classification. We call it equity or debt capital.
Okay, and
Yes.
you have to explain that for me. But let me just do a quick announcement.
Okay.
Let me just say, because of the importance of what we are discussing, I know that you probably have a question or two on your mind. You can quickly join us with that. I'll take 4 phone calls or 5 if it's possible on 0302-211-69-102, 0302-211-69-102. Please explain your equity and your other thing for us.
Yes, equity or debt. Equity is the equity is the money you, the business owner, have set aside as a capital for yourself. And this equity could be cash or could be in asset. That is your personal arrangement or savings, like we are talking about. If you save a substantial money and you set it aside to start this business, maybe use it to buy a plot of land, you build a house on it, you buy some machinery, and all those things are classified as equity. monies you generate from your own source, that is in a very small level of explanation. And monies you go and borrow from either the bank, financial institution, or you get from somewhere else to add to your business is mostly described as debt. There are various definition or classification of those debts as well. So as a business person, it is important sometimes to go in for debt in order to enhance your business. You may not always need to use your own cash to do everything. You may not have the capacity to expand. Like we are talking about equity. Equity, as I explained to you, could be a funds you so-called generated. When you are developing or growing in business, in well-developed states, at least Ghana, we are also trying to get there. We have platforms or markets where capitals can be accessed to business entities. One of the main capital market in Ghana is the stock exchange. And at this stock exchange, we access a capital call from the public. When they say they are floating share for companies or for individuals to buy, all we are doing is to mobilize money from surplus sources and give as a capital to businesses to use.
Okay. Can I, you'll continue with that, but let me just speak to Abbas, who's joining us from Tamale. Okay. Good morning to you, Abbas. Thank you for calling. Let's hear you.
Yeah, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you for asking.
Yeah, thank you for the program. Please, I want your guest to explain something about the SME, the loans that they give. You know, normally their interest rates are very high, and that is what is always available for the, what I would say, the small businesses around.
Okay.
So I want him to elaborate on that.
Okay. I hear you, Abbas. We'll do right that. Thank you.
Yes, that's a very good question. SMEs and taking
the interest on the loans that they give you
are so high. It is very true. Every person, every financial institution is in place to manage risk. SMEs, like he rightly said, are small and medium scale businesses. Most of them do not have the capacity to take a loan from bigger commercial banks because of the requirements that the banks may ask in terms of collateral, in terms of structure, in terms of business processes that they must go through. Some of them are not even registered. So, in brief, they have a high risk. Anybody have a high risk of investing in money into such companies. So, one, it's about risk management. Two, it's about the cost of fund to the said financial institution dealing with the SMEs.
Okay.
So these two things determine the high rate of investing or giving loan, so to say, to the SMEs.
Let me speak to Kwame, who is joining us from Kumasi. Good morning to you, Kwame. Let's hear you.
Yeah, good morning, madam.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, please, my concern is in borrowing loan from bank. When you go for loan for three years and you get the money back within 2 years, some bank deducted the interest within the 3 years. I don't understand, so I want you to explain to me.
Ah, okay. My guest will explain that, but let me quickly speak to David, and then we can box the two questions together. David from Navrongo, good morning. Let's hear you.
I picked a loan from bank, and at the end, I went and pay off the loan. At the end, the money was increased as I think maybe the years expand to me was not what I thought it should have been so.
Okay, so you paid within.
So I don't know why
you,
the amount increased. As I thought.
You paid in a shorter time, right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes, please.
Okay, but you still paid what you would have paid if you were to pay in 5 years, for instance.
Yes, please.
Okay, all right, we'll get the explanation right here. So I think the two questions are the same. Let me just speak to the very last person, and then you get the opportunity to give them a response. Adams from Bole, good morning. Let's hear you.
Good morning.
Yes, Adams.
Oh. Hello?
Hello, Adams, we can hear you.
Okay. Please, what I want to find out is that at times you take a loan from a bank. As my other brothers were saying, the interest that they will take from the loan at times is even more than the loan that you normally even take.
Mm-hmm.
And then, sometimes the business that you are taking the loan for, the way you are looking at it, the loan, the business is more faster than the loan that you have taken. But at times, because of the market or the system that we are, at times the market normally comes slowly. So if you go to the bank to explain things for them, the way your market was going slowly again, I think they don't normally care about what you are saying.
Yeah.
But they were interested about their interest.
Okay. So
I don't know whether they can normally do something if the situation that you are going through the ground.
Okay, I get what you mean. We'll try and see.
Yeah.
We'll try and find some answers. I'll summarize that for you. But let's go on. I think Adams. Adams is the last person, but Kwame and somebody else, Abbas, were asking about the loans. You take the loan, you pay within a shorter time, but you still pay what you'd have paid for the original arrangements with interests.
Yeah, what I would say generally about this loan or the loan issue is that sometimes we just rush into taking loans or into agreements. Ghanaians generally don't like reading. Anytime you take a loan, there's a policy document that is given to you as to how the loan is structured, as to interest rate you are going to pay, as to the conditions when you are paying earlier or you are extending or you default. Most people do not read. They do not get the underlying contract arrangements because they need the money. They say, oh, you just give me, I'll pay, my salary can pay. You take the loan and the bank start their deductions. Then you start complaining. So I will advise one, various financial institutions have various means or ways or methods of calculating their interest rate. We may have a straight line, we may have a reducing balance and whatever. So please take your time, read. If you cannot read, tell the banker or the officer to read and explain to you the conditions that goes with the loan you are taking. If you like, take. If you don't like, please don't take. Because the moment you take, as for the bank or the institution, they will deduct their money and make sure, even if you default, they can take you to court and take whatever is in the agreement. They will make sure they enforce it to the letter. Okay. So please take your time, read through.
And read the contract.
That is, I think
that will also answer for the very last question. Sure. But this is where we have to end the conversation. I see a lot of people are interested in asking a lot more questions on loans. So maybe we'll do another session.
Yeah.
I don't know what you say to that. But I want to say thank you for your time this morning. Really, it's always a pleasure talking to you. You make it look so easy. My guest, David Kofi Wakon, is chairman of Wealth Vision Financial Services Limited, formerly with the Bank of Ghana. And this is where we'll end our conversation. This is where we'll end the AM show. And talking about finances, I want to say good morning to my colleagues at Profit Points. And we are back on the AM show, God willing, tomorrow, Tuesday. Enjoy the rest of your day.